Welcome to lecture number 35 for ECE 476, Advanced Embedded Systems, Wi-Fi and Client Tags. Now what we're doing in this lecture is we're going to look at how to set up your Pico to act as a client on an existing Wi-Fi network. That's what we talked about last lecture. But in this lecture, we're going to look at how to have other clients send data back to your Pi Pico. That way you can turn on and off lights, turn on motors, turn off motors, control the LCD display, whatever you want. And the approach we're going to use is to use tags. And there is dozens and dozens of tags you can use. We're just going to look at 5 of them. The 5 tags are text input. I can input numbers, fractions, words, whatever you want. Input numbers, these are integers in a certain range. Either input the number with a keyboard or arrow up, arrow down commands. I can do a checkbox. So of these items, pick as many as you want and submit them. A radio, we only get to input a single button. If I click on C, it disables the other ones. Or a hyperlink, click on a button and it sends a message. So that's where we're heading. Now the trick to using tags is you need to write a short HTML program which sends back information when you hit submit. The approach used is what's presented in W3 Schools. If you go to this website, that's actually a really nice tutorial on using tags. In addition, it has interactive windows. So you can sit there and check out your HTML code, run it, and see what it looks like. Click on the buttons to see what you get back. So this is a very good website if you want to test out, vary your HTML code. You don't have to sit there and try it on the Pi Pico. You can try it on W3 Schools. Once you perfect your code, copy that over and use it on your Pi Pico. So let's start out with a text input. With that text input, you input anything you want, text, numbers, same thing we did back in lecture 33. When you press submit, the data is sent back to your Pi Pico. So starting out, to get that to work, I need the HTML code. So this is based very heavily on what's on W3 Schools. I have an action field that is a text window. The first name is going to be N0. It's going to return whatever I have in the window. I'll next write a subroutine to read that file. This is a web page like we had before. It just reads that file. These need to be on your Pi Pico where they're saved. And just for convenience, I've got 4 different ones. Check whichever file you want to read, uncomment that one, comment out the other ones. I'll then read that text file and strip out the carriage return line feeds. So this is the file that I'm going to read. And it gets returned as a text string. The main routine then. I will need to connect to an existing Wi-Fi network as a client. Open a socket for the Pi Pico, same as lecture 34, a little bit different than 33. And note that netman is from Pepi80. This is a routine that will let you connect to an existing Wi-Fi network. There's a couple versions of netman out on the web. The one you want is from Pepi80. Once I've connected to a Wi-Fi network, I'll then open up a socket, bind to that address, and start listening. In the main loop, what I'm going to be doing is waiting for a ping from somebody else connecting on that wireless network and pinging me. When I see a ping, I'm going to check to see, was this a ping that included the keyword favicon. That is a ping. When you ping, get a whole bunch of data. The message that it has a favicon in it is the one that you want. Once I see it, I'll send the message, got a connection from whoever it is, along with the IP address of that person, that client. I'll then parse the message that came back from the client. Basically pull up everything that you don't care about, just the actual message, which is look for the keyword request, then PHP, then character line feed. That pulls off the data. The different fields are separated by an AND. Once you get that all parsed out, echo back my web page and close the connection. Then in the shell window, what you'll see is I'm connecting. Once I'm connected, here's my IP address. I'm then listening for somebody else pinging me. If somebody else pings this address on the same wireless network, I will get a message, look for the fave icon, strip out everything else. What I'm left with is the actual data. So let's see how that works. I go over to Thonny. If I start this program, it's now listening. I will connect to that spot. Here's my text field. Input my data, hit submit, and there's my data back at the Pico. And I can do text. I can do numbers. I can do fractions. I can do nonsense. It doesn't care. If I have spaces or a blank field, spaces show up as a plus, blank fields show up as a null entry. That's a text field. Next, let's look at number fields. With number fields, you have to input an integer. I can either type that in by hand or use the arrow up, arrow down for convenience. Hit submit. When I do that, I'll get back 3 numbers. Now to do this, what I need is the HTML code. Again, this comes from W3 schools, based heavily on that. Same as we did back in lecture 33. And here's what that looks like. In the shell window, I'll then get my messages. So to do that in Thonny, what I need to do is select this file that I want to send. And a lot of times you get this error message. To clear it, I have to disconnect the Pi Pico, power it back up. It's probably a better way to do it, but that's all I know how to do right now. Rerun it. It tries to connect to the network. Once it's connected, this is my IP address. Somebody else on that network can ping that address. There's my number field. I can use the arrows. If I want, hit submit. There's my data. I can type in the numbers 100, 200, 220. If I go out of range, it'll tell me you can't do that. It's got to be within range. 255. That's a number field. Checkbox. A checkbox lets you check as many boxes as you want. Like, what do you want on your hamburger? Ketchup, lettuce, tomatoes. When you hit submit, all the ones that were checked are sent over to the Pico. The HTML code looks like this. This is an action page that's a checkbox. Here's the first box, labels of red, green, blue. In the shell window, what you click on gets returned. So again, let's see how that works. If I go over to a checkbox, again, doesn't like it. I already have a connection. Power off, power on. I can now go over reconnect. There's my checkboxes. I can say I want all 3 colors on. There's my message. I just want 1 color on. If I click on nothing, I get an empty message. That's a checkbox. I can do a radio button. A radio button is you get to vote for one candidate and only one. If I select a different one, it'll unselect the previous one. That's a radio button. The code is an action page. Here is a radio box with the different options. Second radio, the different options. In the shell window, it tells you what the 2 votes were. And seeing that in action, go to a radio. Got to power off, power on. Restart the code. It's trying to make a connection to my wireless network. Again, this is my cell phone as a wireless hotspot. You might be able to hear the construction in the background. So there's your web page. I'm not sure where these symbols are coming from. Say like dogs and lions, submit. Dogs and lions. Ferrets and bears. If I click on nothing, I get a null character, empty return. Lastly, hyperlinks. With hyperlinks, you can normally send back a web page when you click on a hyperlink. I can also use that to send back information, such as light on, light off, or toggle. The way that works is the hyperlink is an A. When you do a hyperlink, I need to respond back to the name of the host, and I don't know what that is when I set up the web page. So I'm going to use a space holder, AAAA, and pass that data as something's going to be changed when I call the web page subroutine. So this is the space holder for the IP address of my Pi Pico. And when I have the first one, this is a button that has the value of on, a button that's off, and a button that's toggle. When I click on those buttons, this is what gets returned. And so what I'll be looking for is the keyword light on, light off, light toggle. In web page, I need to replace AAAA with the IP address. And I guess I didn't do this. I would also have the status of the LED being replaced, which isn't in the web page, so it doesn't really do anything. And the main routine, I need to remember the IP address of the Pi Pico. So when I connect to the Pi Pico, I need to record the name of the IP address. I'm going to use that later. Then in the main routine, when I do a web page, I've got to return the IP address of the Pico and the status of the LED, which I'm not using. When you do that, the ping that comes back from the other client looks like this. It's got a whole bunch of data. One of the lines is refer. So what I'm going to do is look for the keyword refer till character return line feed. That pulls off this information. I then want to pull off everything to strip off everything to the left of the backslash. So look for backslash, clear up everything to the left of the backslash until I run out of backslashes right here. And then here's my message. Now, presumably, that I have my message do something. In this case, if I see the message light on, I'll turn on the LED, light off, turns off the LED, light toggle, toggles the LED, and then echo back the response, close the connection. So to see how that works, I'll stop this guy. It's not going to work if I try running it. Oh, it will work. Didn't expect that. Refresh the web page. So here's my buttons. If I click on there's the message I got. Off. Toggle. But then look at the Pi Pico. That turned on the LED. Turned off the LED. And toggle. Light on. Light off. Light on. Off. On. Toggle. Toggle. Light off. So I'm now controlling what's happening on the Pico using another client on the Wi-Fi network. So in this lecture, we looked at techniques for having your Pi Pico act as a client on a Wi-Fi network. I'm using tags. That allows you to connect your Pi Pico to an existing Wi-Fi network. I can input numbers to my Pi Pico, like turning on and off LEDs from your cell phone or browser. I can input floating point numbers, allowing you to vary the brightness of an LED, speed of a motor, etc. I can select from several options using various tags. And there's many more tags that you can use. They're presented in W3 schools. The ones presented here are ones I was basically able to get to work with the Pi Pico. And with some effort, you can probably get the other ones to work as well. And that's lecture number 35 for ECE 476.